Emily Carla Pike disappeared from a group home in Arizona. 2 weeks later, her dismembered remains were found in the desert. As the investigation unfolded, the clear and devastating trail of neglect, jurisdictional mishandlings, and missed opportunities to protect her were revealed. Emily had asked for help long before she vanished, but no one truly listened. Now she has become a symbol of a crisis that Indigenous communities have been sounding the alarm on for years, a crisis that still isn't being taken seriously enough. Her case remains unsolved. Whoever did this to Emily is still out there, and the demand for justice is only growing louder. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing super well. Thank you guys so much for being here and for taking the time to listen to what happened to Emily. I quickly want to make a note to double check if you are subscribed to this channel, because in the past 2 videos I noticed a lot of comments from you that thought you were already subscribed, but it turns out that you weren't. I know there is like a glitch with YouTube, and I was able to check, and around 50% of you who watch aren't subscribed. So if you are able to click the subscribe button down below, I would really appreciate it. It does help out this channel so much, and it helps you not miss a video. So yeah, we can get as many people watching to spread awareness together. Before we get into the video, I do just want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor for supporting this channel. Thank you to Home Chef for sponsoring today's video. All right, you guys, I'm gonna expose myself a little bit. I'm actually not the best cook. I wish I was. I wish I could just create these delicious meals out of thin air, but cooking has just never been my thing. However, I also don't enjoy getting takeout or just like eating, a boring salad every single day. So that's where Home Chef comes in. They offer a simple, customizable, and convenient meal kit experience designed to make home cooking easy and enjoyable. Home Chef delivers fresh ingredients and easy to follow recipes straight to your door. No grocery meltdowns or no what should I make tonight like spiraling. It's just vibes and good food. Now, this is not your basic meal kit. Home Chef meals are customizable, so you can upgrade your meals, you can double up, or you can even swap out your protein on select meals. They've got over 20 plus meals rotating every single week, including calorie conscious, vegetarian, and protein packed options. So yeah, you're never gonna get bored. Home Chef is perfect for busy lifestyles. They have oven-ready meals, they have 15-minute meals, and fast and fresh meals. And you guys, the oven-ready meals, they have been a game changer in my life. They come in this oven-safe tray, and yeah, these have just made my dinner routine so easy and so quick. I just had the creamed spinach Vermont chicken, and this was just unreal, you guys. It was so delicious. I am just all about simplicity, so being able to just plop this tray in the oven, and in less than an hour I have this delicious and fulfilling meal, that is a 10 out of 10 for me. With Home Chef, there's minimal cleanup and just minimal stress. Plus, the cooking process is so easy with their step-by-step recipe cards that include photos to guide you through every single step. Home Chef actually ranks #1 in taste and value according to a third-party survey. And yeah, I agree. You can head over to homechef.com to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Home Chef box with code JackieF50. Once again, thank you to Home Chef for supporting this channel, and with that, let's jump right into today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about Emily Carla Pike, a girl from Arizona who went missing and was later found lifeless in a terribly tragic and just brutal manner. Emily is one of many Indigenous women and girls being killed at an alarming rate, and the response to this is often silence or indifference. There are many stories like hers, and it's just so important to raise awareness about what's happening. Today is about Emily, but it's also about every single Indigenous woman and girl who has been taken too soon, about the families left behind, and about the systems that continue to fail them. Today is such an important video, and before we get into who Emily was and what happened to her, I want to give you guys a better idea of how serious this issue and cases like hers are, and how it's even worse than we know. Nationwide, Indigenous communities have been speaking out louder than ever about the crisis of their missing and murdered women and girls. According to a study, which I will have linked down below, by the Urban Indian Health Institute, a data and research division of the Seattle Indian Health Board, the National Crime Information Center recorded 5,712 cases of missing American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls in 2016. However, only 116 of those cases were entered into the U.S. Department of Justice's Federal Missing Persons Database, which is called the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. The study also states that the CDC reports murder is the 3rd leading cause of death for Indigenous women, and the rates of violence on reservations can be up to 10 times higher than the national average. Now, in this study, the Urban Indian Health Institute Institute reports that even though over 70% of American Indians and Alaska Natives live in cities, almost no research has been done on how missing and murdered women and girls, also known as MMIWG, crisis affects them in the urban areas. That's because most of the existing data, most of the existing laws and systems focus on what happens on reservations, not in cities. The tribal police don't have jurisdiction in urban areas, and city police often don't track whether a missing or murdered person is Native. Sometimes they even misclassify their race entirely or just don't take the case seriously. And because most MMIWG research and resources are tied to tribal lands, the urban Native population, which is now the majority, gets left out. So even though the violence is happening, there's very little attention on it, and that creates a false perception that the crisis is only happening on reservations. To try and figure out just how deep this issue really is in urban cities across the United States, the Urban Indian Health Institute launched a study in 2017 to count cases and to also understand why the data is missing, how police handle these cases, and how the media reports on them. What they found is just so heartbreaking. Native women and girls often disappear 3 times, once in life, once in the media, and once in data. The UIHI identified 506 cases across 71 urban cities in the United States. 120 of them were missing persons, 280 were murders, and 98 had unknown statuses. And these 506 cases are likely an undercount. The victims in these cases range in age from infants to elders, with more than a quarter under 18. Many cases involve domestic violence, essay, or systematic failures like police brutality or lack of prosecution. In the few cases where a suspect was identified, over a quarter were never held accountable. Now, getting this information was not just incredibly difficult and time-consuming, but also expensive. UIHI sent out public record requests to 71 city police agencies and 1 to a state agency, and only 40 provided some level of data. And 13% of agencies charged for the data, which if UIHI had paid every invoice, it would have cost over $4,000. And, UIHI being a smaller American Indian and Alaska Native organization with limited resources, simply couldn't afford to get the data. UIHI also found 153 cases which weren't even in police records to begin with. They had to go out and dig deep through news stories, through social media, and with families to find the 153 cases that weren't in any records. By providing this data, the UIHI wants to show that violence against Native women is happening in cities too, not just on reservations. They are urging tribal nations to also be notified when one of their citizens is killed or goes missing, just like any other nation would be. Without real change like proper data collection, respectful media coverage, and funding for Indigenous-led research, the violence will keep getting ignored and families will keep being failed. I hope that by sharing Emily Pike's story with you, we can all get a deeper understanding of the violence Indigenous women and girls face and just the heartbreaking realities that their communities are forced to fight against every single day. I will be leaving resources down below for you guys to read about and just become more aware of what's been happening for a very long time. Now, Emily's case is still ongoing, so this is the information that has been made public at the time that I am recording this video. However, as new information is revealed, I will make sure to update you guys. That being said, let's talk about what happened to Emily. Emily Carla Pike was born on May 16th, 2010 in Arizona to her parents Stephanie and Jensen. She grew up in the San Carlos Apache tribe and she lived in the small town of Peridot, about 20 or so miles east of Globe, Arizona. Emily's home was a manufactured trailer that she shared with various relatives. Now, the mobile home was tucked off a dirt road lined with some not so pretty things like broken glass, old trash, and overgrown brush, which nearly swallowed the path. Inside, things were a bit tough. Relatives said that the plumbing barely worked and that there were holes in the roof patched with tarps. In addition to this, her upbringing wasn't all that easy either. Emily's dad, Jensen, was in and out of prison, with his most recent charges tied to arson and criminal damage. Her mom, Stephanie, had custody but was battling addiction, which relatives say made it hard for her to give Emily the stability that she needed. Although these home life struggles play a part in Emily's case, she was more than that. She had a great spirit and was incredibly creative. She was determined to learn how to play the guitar, and she loved painting and she loved drawing. Art was something that really made her light up. She mentioned wanting to pursue it when she was older in college, something that she really hoped her good grades would allow her to do. But above everything, she loved animals and she just absolutely adored cats. She had one of her own and she was obsessed with everything cat related, especially Hello Kitty. I grew up loving Hello Kitty too, and just hearing about how much that meant to her just made me smile. Emily's cousins, who were close in age to her, say that she was funny, kind, and happy. They remember how she loved K-pop, Roblox, the color pink, as well as anything glittery, and she fully embraced it. She was also just beginning to experiment with makeup, which is just the best time ever. I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree, growing up and just starting to play with makeup and experiment and see what you like and just kind of step into that era. It's just so much fun and so special. You know, it's those little details that just remind us that Emily was just a normal girl in the middle of her teen years, doing her best, just filled with dreams and just filled with passions. However, as Emily got older, there was a shift in her. She went from soft-spoken and gentle to withdrawn and angry. This could be explained by what happened to her years ago. So let's go back to early 2023. It was near White River on the Fort Apache Reservation that Emily came forward and reported something terrible that happened to her. She had been essayed. According to the FBI, the suspect in this report was never prosecuted for what happened to her, but has been indicted on separate federal charges. This would be Emily's first essay report. A few months later, in July 2023, Emily reported a second essay, this time on the San Carlos Apache Reservation. According to Emily and her family, the alleged perpetrator was a relative who frequently visited their home. Her grandmother, Agatha Key, didn't know about this until after Emily's death. She learned that authorities found Emily shirtless and distressed on a hill beside her house. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, also known as the BIA, assigned Special Agent Jose Verdugo to investigate the second report. After interviewing Emily, Jose wrote in his report that she was unable to provide specific dates or timelines of the assault, and that the details she did share could not be verified. He also noted the absence of physical evidence or witnesses. Based on this, Jose claimed that he consulted with the U.S. Attorney's Office and that they therefore mutually decided not to pursue charges. However, when reports later followed up on this, that claim was contradicted. The Arizona U.S. Attorney's Office stated that they had no record of ever receiving Emily's case. Their spokesperson, Esther Winnie, said that no paperwork had been submitted, no emails, no phone logs, nothing. Assistant U.S. Attorney Thomas Simon, the person contacted by Jose, had no memory or documentation of any conversation regarding Emily's case. Prosecutors clarified that unless the case is submitted in writing, they cannot legally review or act on it. On the other hand, the BIA maintains their claim that they carried out a full investigation, including arranging a forensic interview at Emily at an advocacy center for children. Recently, the agency stated that the case had been closed administratively due to insufficient evidence, but left the door open, saying it could be reopened if new information came to light.
The FBI now tells us they investigated a report of Emily being sexually assaulted near White River in early 2023 on the Fort Apache Reservation. The FBI says the suspect from Emily's case is currently being prosecuted for crimes involving two other alleged victims. Then in July of 2023, Emily reported a second crime against her involving a different perpetrator on the San Carlos Apache Reservation. As the ABC 15 investigators first reported yesterday, the Bureau of Indian Affairs says their agents conducted a full investigation, but federal prosecutors say that case was never submitted for review and possible criminal charges.
So as we can see, there was some back and forth going on in regards to why the report was not further acted upon. Complicating matters even worse, the response to Emily's second report raised serious concerns about how it was handled at the tribal level. Instead of assigning it to the San Carlos Apache Police Department, the tribe handed the investigation over to the Game and Fish Department, which is typically responsible for wildlife enforcement. When asked why this happened, the San Carlos Apache Police Chief, Elliot Sneezy, couldn't give a clear explanation. He said game and fish officers are often the ones tracking people in remote parts of the reservation, and that police were short-staffed that day with only 22 officers covering the 1.8 million acre reservation. The case was handed to BIA, where their federal officials took over, and as we know, no further action was taken.
Emily Pike was 13 when she reported she was assaulted on the San Carlos Apache Reservation. The first responding officers were from the Tribal Game and Fish Department, but we learned today from the Bureau of Indian Affairs that their federal agents took over and did what they describe as a full investigation, including a forensic interview of Emily at a child advocacy center. The BIA says it coordinated with both tribal and federal prosecutors, but the U.S. Attorney's Office says the case was never formally submitted for review and no charges were filed.
Ultimately, the suspect in Emily's second report was briefly arrested but released without charges, and tribal prosecutors did not pursue the case, so the person who essayed Emily was let free. No further action was done. According to Emily's uncle, Alred Pike Jr., he believed that the Game and Fish Department handled the investigation properly, noting that their officers received the same training and have the same arrest authority as the police. He said, quote, "Investigation-wise, I think everything was done right, but still Emily's second case, like the first, was passed between agencies and eventually set aside without justice. Emily was so young at the time of these reports, and it must have been terrifying for her to come forward, only to realize that nothing truly would be done to protect her." After all of this, Emily was removed from her family home by tribal social services and placed in a group home for girls in August of 2023. There, she had very limited contact with her family and she struggled. According to a family statement, she was taken from her small rural town and then she was sent to Mesa, a much larger city, leading her to feel homesick. Her mom, Stephanie, said that Emily missed home-cooked meals from her grandma. She missed traditional meals like acorn soup. It was a very drastic change and she just wanted to return home. She was having a hard time with everything that happened to her, and now, being in this new environment, it was just all too much. According to Terry Ross, who oversees tribal social services, he said that cases like Emily's are really hard to prosecute when families protect the person accused, which, just to clarify, I wasn't able to find any proof of relatives saying that the person accused was in fact being protected, but nonetheless, Terry Ross said, quote, "What I experience with our tribe is that all the families will support the perpetrator, and we can't do anything but to remove the child for their safety." This is something Emily's uncle criticized. Alred Jr. said, quote, "My niece was a victim, but yet she was punished and removed from her home. That's how justice failed her. The person she accused of hurting her got to go home. How is that justice? It's just backwards." So yeah, Emily was the one sent away from her home, and that was just a huge shock for her, which could have further contributed to her mental health struggles. It was clear she did not want to be there. Emily actually ran away from the group home a couple of times. The first time was on September 11th, 2023, with another girl from the home. They escaped through their bedroom window after staff gave them their medications and were both later found at the Kleinman Park playground. They told police that they didn't want to go back to the group home because they were forced to scrub baseboards, they were forced to scrub the walls, scrub the windowsills, and tiles on their hands and knees. One of the girls, unclear whether it was Emily, said that they'd just escape again once they were taken back. And just 9 days later, on September 20th, 2023, Emily ran away again and was reported missing. She was later found by a police officer who spotted her walking along a canal. She told police that she just felt uncomfortable at the group home because staff would argue with the other young girls and that she just didn't want to go back there. She also said that she wanted to speak to her mom and that the group home was not her home and that she just wanted to go stay with her grandma instead of just going back there with these people she didn't know. She also stated that no one understood her or was going to help her.
Emily, 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 can you please stop for me so I can talk to you?
No, I don't want to go back.
I know. Let's talk, okay?
No.
It's okay. Hey,
My
hey,
mom.
it's okay. You're not in trouble, okay?
I just want to see my mom.
All right, come here. We'll call your mom, okay?
No.
It's okay. Well, tell us
Just
what's
let
going on.
me go.
Tell us what's going on.
I want to stay with my grandma instead.
After this incident, Emily was sent to a mental health facility for an evaluation and later was taken back to the group home. So yeah, it was clear that Emily was not happy here. She was not comfortable and she just did not want to be there. It's just really sad that she was stripped of her family and her home when she came forward with the truth about what happened to her. She was just a girl who bravely spoke up and her whole life changed in an instant. The third time that Emily was reported missing was on October 31st, 2023 at 6:35 p.m. The group home told police that she took off with a group of 3 guys and that she, quote, got boy crazy. Shortly after, at 9:15 p.m., the group home called the police again to let them know that Emily was back in their care. Despite concerns that she may have been laced, staff told officers that no medical attention or further action was needed and said that she would simply be monitored overnight. In addition to Emily running away, Emily attempted to take her own life while under the care of this group home. On November 8th, 2023, a group home worker found her in a closet with a shoestring around her neck tied to a doorknob. She also had cuts on her wrists, but thankfully she survived. However, she attempted to take her life a second time again a few weeks later during a family trip to Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah, where she was spending time with her aunts, uncles, and with her cousins. On this trip, a day after Thanksgiving, Emily ran away from a mall after her Aunt Caroline told her she couldn't buy makeup. After 2 hours of the family searching for her, police found her at a trampoline park and she tried grabbing the officer's gun, saying that she wanted to die and would see her family in hell. This incident then led to her being hospitalized. After this, she was admitted into a secure behavioral treatment center for a year before returning to the group home in December of 2024. A month later, she ran away again, you guys, for the last time on January 27th, 2025. Police were called around 8:15, 8:30 p.m. that night, and it was reported that she was last seen on foot at the intersection near Mesa Drive and McKellips Road at around 7:45 p.m. The group home said that she was wearing a pink and gray striped long-sleeve shirt and that the screen window from her bedroom was kicked out, suggesting that she escaped through it. The only other detail anyone knew came from Emily's roommate, who we will just call Chelsea for the sake of the video. Chelsea said that a church group had visited the group home to run an activity, and that's when Emily left. Chelsea thinks that the church group distracted the staff just enough for Emily to slip out to go see a boy that she had met while taking guitar lessons. Chelsea believed that Emily wasn't trying to run away forever, and that she just wanted to go see this boy and go home, go back to her reservation, back to her family. According to Attorney General Alex Ritchie, Emily's tribal caseworker didn't immediately consider her disappearance an actual emergency, since again she had run away in the past, which is something that we often see. But after not returning to the group home or anyone seeing her, Emily was officially reported as missing. But here's the thing, Emily's family actually wasn't informed until a week later. A week later, you guys, that is just not okay. Now, even though Emily was living in a facility licensed by Arizona's DCS when she went missing, she technically wasn't in DCS custody. She was in the custody of the San Carlos Apache tribe. And because the tribe only has one very small group home on the reservation, they often have to place children in off-reservation group homes like the one that Emily was sent to. But because she was under the tribe's jurisdiction, the state's missing child laws didn't apply. Arizona has a law that was updated last year because of the alarming number of runaways from DCS group homes. It requires the child's family to be notified by phone and in writing within 24 hours if the child goes missing. But because Emily wasn't officially in DCS custody, none of that happened for her, which is just insane. Like imagine finding out that your child is missing a week later, an entire week where you could have been looking for them, you could have been spreading awareness, contacting the news, contacting police, and just trying to find your child, but you didn't know until an entire week later. Catherine Tack, director of the Arizona DCS, explained this, saying, quote, "When a child is living on tribal land and either eligible for enrollment or enrolled in a tribe, that tribe has exclusive jurisdiction. The state can't come in and tell them what to do with their children." So yeah, no one at the group home was legally required to notify Emily's family right away, since again, she was technically not in DCS custody. She also admitted that DCS didn't have access to the information they would have needed to contact Emily's family or the community. But this is something widely criticized. They're saying that DCS shouldn't just sit by and just not help because of jurisdictional issues when a child, like literally a child who was born in Arizona and lived in Arizona her entire life, goes missing. Now, going back to the days after Emily was reported missing, on February 2nd, 2025, an unknown caller left the group home a voicemail saying that Emily was with her mother back home, according to a Facebook post, but this voicemail wasn't reviewed until days later on February 7th. Then days later on February 11th, the voicemail was reviewed by police after they asked if there was any new information on Emily's whereabouts. Police contacted Stephanie regarding this voicemail, but said that the tip was false. She hadn't heard from Emily and said that the Facebook post being referenced was old. Days went by, but Emily never returned to the group home. She never made it back to the reservation either. And tragically, she never would, because unfortunately, less than a month after the last time that she was seen, on Valentine's Day this year, February 14th, 2025, Emily was found lifeless. And I want to put a trigger warning because how Emily was found is just absolutely horrific. Her body was found dismembered and abandoned in a remote area off Highway 60. People walking along a trail around mile marker 277 on Forest Service Road 355 outside of Globe, Arizona, Arizona and Gila County came across suspicious black trash bags. After taking a closer look, it was clear that human remains were inside them and they alerted the authorities. However, when Gila County Sheriff's deputies arrived, they realized that the human remains weren't complete. Emily's head and torso were found in one black contractor trash bag, and her legs were found in another. However, her hands and arms were not there and have not been found to this day. To detectives, these findings suggest that she was murdered at a different site and that her body was disposed of at this spot. They also believe that she fought back, possibly leaving the perpetrator's DNA under her fingernails or, their skin under her fingernails or on her skin, which could explain why the person who dismembered Emily would not want her arms or her hands to be found. At the point the human remains were found, no one knew it was Emily Pike yet, as she was initially listed as a Jane Doe. However, the Bureau of Indian Affairs had already informed police that they strongly suspected that this was Emily. And somehow, despite that, no one called her family to let them know or to just give them a warning. No one informed them. No one gave Stephanie, Emily's mother, the information that she had every right to know. First, it took an entire week for anyone to notify her about Emily's disappearance, which is just insane and just so disrespectful to begin with. And now, no one was telling her that they had found human remains that likely belonged to her 14-year-old daughter. Instead, Stephanie had to find this out on her own, and even worse, through Facebook. A memo that was meant for law enforcement made its way online. I have no idea how, but this memo contained graphic descriptions of the dismembered remains. Stephanie read this on the Facebook page and she just already knew that it was her daughter Emily. That's how she learned that her daughter had been murdered. Can you imagine learning about that? Learning about the worst news of your life from a social media post? It's just inexcusable. Stephanie later wrote a letter to Arizona state legislators saying that no mother should ever have to find that through Facebook. And she's right. In a press issue released on February 26, nearly 2 weeks after Emily's body had been found, the Gila County Sheriff's Office said that they were working alongside the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police and that they'd held off on a public announcement because, they just needed to get more information before doing so. They also said that they believed that there was no active threat to the community, but how could that be? A young girl was brutally murdered, she was dismembered, and she was just left in the middle of nowhere as if she meant nothing, and they were saying that the community wasn't at risk? It just didn't make any sense, especially because this person is still out there. What else did they know to be able to say this statement? In the press release, they also admitted that the Facebook post had been leaked from within the department and was never supposed to go public. But of course, no explanation or apology or just anything could ever make up for the damage that carelessness caused. The next day, on February 27th, investigators officially confirmed what Stephanie already knew, that the human remains found belonged to Emily. Now, this was confirmed both through dental and DNA records, with Stephanie providing a sample to match. The preliminary autopsy showed visible trauma to Emily's face and head, and while they didn't list an official cause of death at first, that answer came months later. On July 9th, the Pinal County Medical Examiner officially ruled Emily's cause of death as, quote, homicidal violence with blunt head trauma. The horror of what happened to this beautiful young little girl spread like wildfire. How could something like this happen? How could someone be so cruel to take a young girl's life, to desecrate her body, and then just to leave her like trash on the side of the road? This was someone's child, someone's loved one, someone's friend, someone special. She just didn't deserve this. Like her roommate Chelsea said, Emily was going through so much before her death and she was probably just trying to make her way back home when she ran away. Now, where her body was found makes that seem likely. It's heartbreaking to imagine, what she went through in her final moments. And again, it's believed that she fought off her attacker. So she went down with a fight, and it's just absolutely unbearable to think about what she went through. Now, that pain only grew when the family had to say their final goodbyes to Emily and lay her to rest. On March 28th, hundreds of people gathered in Globe, Arizona to bring Emily back home. Her remains were escorted from Lamont Mortuary to the reservation, with the Red Rum Motorcycle Club leading the way. Her dad, Jensen, was able to attend the wake and say goodbye to his little girl, but he actually couldn't make it to the memorial the next day. On Saturday, the motorcycle club once again led the procession, this time to the San Carlos High School gymnasium for her memorial. After that, they brought her to her final resting place, a burial site just about 2 miles from her home. home. Emily's coffin was adorned with Hello Kitty, with pink flowers, and a photo of her. A memorial for Emily was also made at the intersection where she was last seen. The community hung a banner, posters, and placed flowers and gifts, trying to keep her name alive and just trying to keep her name in the public eye. They also tied yellow and pink ribbons around trees or on stop signs to further spread her name. Hundreds of people also gathered at the Arizona State Capitol for a day of action, demanding justice for Emily. The rally was just one of many events held across the state and country as Emily's death ignited this powerful movement. People at the Capitol rally held signs reading "Justice for Natives" and "MMIW." The rally, organized by Turtle Island Women Warriors, marched from Wesley Ballin Memorial Plaza, circled the Capitol, and returned to the plaza for a final prayer. Reva Stewart, the founder of Turtle Island Women Warriors, said they organized a rally while the state legislature was still in session to make sure that lawmakers and Governor Katie Hobbs were listening. Reva said, quote, "We are their voice and we will continue to be their voice. We don't do this out of anger, we do it in prayer. People have lost their lives."
A sea of red outside the Arizona Capitol Monday as drums and chants echoed, hoping lawmakers inside these buildings hear their pleas.
Today we call upon our elected leaders and decision makers to show us that Indigenous lives matter.
This group is here to raise awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous people.
I fear my own child walking these streets, joining other areas, not knowing, is my daughter going to be another statistic? This is the fear what us Indigenous nations live with.
For Native women, according to an urban Indian health report, murder is the third leading cause of death.
Candlelight vigils have also been held in Emily's honor on the San Carlos Apache Reservation. Hundreds of people showed up to remember her, to describe her spirit, and support her grieving loved ones. People painted red handprints over their mouths, symbolizing the inability of victims to cry out. The first vigil was held just 15 minutes away from a newly painted mural of Emily's face on a water tower in Peridot. It's now covered in red handprints, each one a tribute to Emily. Her mom, Stephanie, placed the very first one. Now, one of the muralists, Myron Starr, said that painting it woke up a spirit inside the community that needed to be woken up. That same spirit is what's fueling this growing movement. The impact of Emily's story has just gone beyond the reservation. Social media has just exploded with support. Hashtags like Justice for Emily Pike, hashtag Say Her Name, and hashtag No More MMIW are just helping bring, national visibility to her case and to the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people as a whole. Emily just deserved so much more than the life that she was dealt and the way that it ended. But through her pain, her community and family are coming together to honor her, to fight for her, and to just make sure that her name is never forgotten. The person responsible for ending her life in this brutal manner needs to be found and justice needs to be served. The Gila County Sheriff's Office is leading the investigation with the task force, which includes the FBI, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the Mesa Police Department. The Gila County Sheriff's Office opened a tip line to help with the investigation, and they encourage people to reach out with anything that they may know. Along with this, the San Carlos Apache Tribe Chairman, Terry Rambler, and the FBI are each offering $75,000 for any information leading to the arrest and the conviction of the person or people responsible for Emily's death. I will be leaving that information down below if you believe you have any useful information. The Gila County Sheriff's Office also asked for help from the public, requesting any ring camera footage or surveillance footage after January 26 that could show any sightings of Emily, so if you are in the area and haven't sent anything in, it could also be helpful to the investigation. State lawmakers were also paying close attention to Emily's case and wanted to address it. Arizona Senate Health and Human Services Committee Chair, Corrine Warner, released a press statement saying that she was calling for a full probe into how the Arizona Department of Child Safety oversees group homes. She called Emily's murder senseless and horrific and said that enough is enough. She announced her plan for a legislative hearing. She wanted DCS officials, law enforcement, tribal councils, and their social service agencies all in the same room to examine whether existing procedures and policies were enough to keep children safe, because she didn't believe they were. She said some group homes in Arizona have repeatedly failed, sometimes sometimes with deadly consequences. Children in their care have died. Staff members have been placed in danger. She said this pointed to a deeper systematic issue within state-funded group homes, and that it was time for immediate reform and that the public deserved transparency. According to a DCS spokesperson, they said, quote, "At this time, the department does not believe any action taken or not taken by the group home caused the terrible outcome in this case. We have opened a licensing inquiry to determine whether appropriate steps were taken by the group home during the incident." So that hearing was set in motion, but before we get into it, let's talk about the group home and what they had to say about what happened and their thoughts on this. In an interview with the group's home manager, she provided some insight into how they function. Now, I'll go over just a few of the questions that she answered. When asked about their protocol, the group home manager said that they're required to report all children as missing, even if a kid just walks out to the store without permission. She explained that the majority of their missing person reports are actually for the same child, leaving multiple times. When asked why staff don't go out searching when a child runs away, she said that the facility is considered hands-off, meaning they are not allowed to physically intervene unless a child is in immediate danger, like trying to run into traffic. In those situations, they stay on the phone with Mesa police and follow the child until officers step in, which, according to her, happens right away if the child is a danger to themselves or to others. She also shared that the group home has been open for 24 years and that the owner has worked in the field for 35 years advocating for kids and for families. She said that group homes aren't a punishment but a temporary support system. She ended by asking the public to allow the police to finish their investigation for Emily's sake, saying, quote, "Her soul deserves peace. She didn't deserve what happened to her." Now, going back to the investigation, along with Senator Karine wanting to hold that hearing on DCS, the San Carlos Apache tribe also reaffirmed their commitment to getting justice for Emily. They sent a resolution to Arizona State Governor Katie Hobbs and other state officials requesting an investigation and legislative reform in response to Emily's murder. They're demanding tougher group home oversight and increased federal funding for tribal public safety, like the expansion of the reservation's group home. They cited the disturbing number of disappearances from Sacred Journey, the state-licensed group home where Emily had been. According to Mesa Police, 30 missing person reports had been filed from that group home over just 3 years. They were all accounted for, and some of those were runaways multiple times. But Emily's was different. She had been reported missing 4 separate times, the last time she was never found. The tribe also announced its plan to launch an independent investigation into how her 2023 SA allegation was handled. They acknowledged the failure of the system to protect Emily, starting with the fact that her SA case was handled by game rangers, not by trained child abuse investigators, and that her case ended with no prosecution, with no answers, and with no justice. The tribe was also planning on consulting with expert law enforcement to fully review how Emily's case was managed from the moment that she came forward to her interactions with police, to behavioral health workers, and to the group home staff that she was sent in. They want to know exactly what went wrong. The San Carlos Apache tribe chairman Terry Rambler made it clear this case cannot remain unsolved, and they are doing everything they can to support investigators, just make sure that no other child slips through the cracks like Emily did. On May 14th, the legislative hearing was finally held. There were multiple speakers like tribal councils, DCS, and law enforcement officials, but the group home Emily was living at did not attend the hearing. Attorney General Alex Ritchie was one of the speakers and pushed for a huge change, that any child who disappears from a group home should immediately be considered missing, not just written off as a runaway. He said, quote, "Our recommendation is that every child, the moment they're not accounted for, they are reported missing. That way, the level of scrutiny is heightened. Of course, there will be folks who don't agree with that, but these are children. They're the most defenseless and in the most need of folks looking out for them." But like he said, not everyone agreed with this. Department of Child Safety Director Catherine Tack argued that if a teen leaves after being told they can't go somewhere and staff already know where they're headed, it might not need to be reported as like a missing person right away. A lot of kids leave for a few days but ultimately return. However, what almost everyone at the hearing did agree on was the lack of communication between agencies. Suggestions were made to fix that, like having group homes and tribal social services actually share background information about the kids in their care, making sure that staff have the information ready when reporting a child missing, and creating formal info sharing agreements between tribes and DCS. The San Carlos Apache Police Chief Elliott also spoke, saying DCS group homes that take Native youth need to be more aware of the kids' cultural backgrounds, and added to the discussion on how poorly law enforcement agencies are communicating with each other, especially since local police can't act on tribal land without permission. He made it clear that communication needs to improve. Emily's uncle, Alred Jr., said what everyone was thinking. He said, quote, "What I've heard today is the failure of agencies, our departments, our jurisdictional issues, federal, state, and tribal. We need to stop working in silos. We need to start sharing information. We need to start working together so that this won't happen again." Legislators said that they are planning to host more meetings to introduce new laws in 2026 that could help prevent this from ever happening again. Although this was a step in the right direction, the San Carlos Apache tribe took things further. They urged the Arizona state legislature to pass House Bill 2281, a bill that would create a missing Indigenous person alert system, a turquoise alert. It would function similar to an Amber Alert, activating as soon as an Indigenous person is reported missing. On May 21st, Governor Katie Hobbs officially signed House Bill 2281, now named Emily's Law, which creates a public alert that can be issued when a Native person up to the age of 65 goes missing. The bill was actually introduced in January before Emily disappeared. State Rep. Teresa Martinez said, quote, "By the time the bill made it over to the Senate, we had realized she had been missing for a month. However, after Emily was found, it was renamed in her honor."
The legislation establishes a turquoise alert system for people who go missing. It's similar to an Amber Alert or a Silver Alert, but this would be for missing and endangered Indigenous people. It's unclear if Emily Pike would have met the criteria to trigger an alert because she was a runaway. Some of Emily's family members were at the Capitol today and talked to us after the signing.
It's a good thing that an alert system is here for all of Indian country, but the hard part is it's named after my brother and Steph's daughter, and she's not here no more.
The turquoise alert system will take effect by the end of this summer.
Governor Hobbs also said that the state would be adding $25,000 to the reward for any information in Emily's case. The Silent Witness Organization and the Arizona Department of Public Safety added $25,000 to the reward for information, bringing the total, when combined with the contributions from the FBI and the San Carlos Apache tribe and the state, which we already discussed, to $200,000. On June 25th, the Gila County Sheriff's Office gave a long-awaited update in Emily Pike's case. They said that with the help from the FBI, they served search warrants at a house, a car, and a storage trailer. They collected various items from those places and sent it all off for testing to see if anything connected back to Emily. They also interviewed a person of interest, but according to them, there's nothing right now that points to this person being the killer. They mentioned they've been collecting and reviewing data as well, but they are keeping quiet about what that data is exactly. So still, to this day, as I'm filming this, no arrest has been made. Justice has still not been served. The person who did this, someone capable of taking a young girl's life and just discarding her like nothing, is still out there. Parts of her remains are also still missing. Who could do something so evil? Emily's family is still searching for answers to why this happened, who did this, and how this can be prevented. Her father, Jensen, is reportedly pursuing a lawsuit against the group home she was living in. He told his lawyers that he wants justice for his daughter. However, some members of Emily's family are not on board with this. They are worried that a lawsuit will distract from efforts to locate Emily's killer. Her aunt, Caroline, who attempted to adopt her in 2023 but was ultimately unable to due to social services, said, quote, "The lawsuit is wrong on so many levels. It's very upsetting. If money is going to come out of this, it should go to a foundation set up in Emily's name." Emily's dad's brother, Alred Jr., said that the possibility of a lawsuit blindsided him, and he's unsure how his brother was talked into filing it. Emily's aunt, Trini, agreed, saying that any money that would come from this lawsuit should be used for assisting in solving Emily's case and for the crisis Indigenous women and girls are facing. As for Emily's mother, Stephanie, she was also unaware of the lawsuit, but says that she would only consider signing onto one if it could protect other children. In addition to this, in late April, she shared that she had been sober for a month and a half, saying, quote, "I'm happy and proud of myself. Thanks for God's help and my family and kids' love and support, and for all of you out there. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It means the world to me." As of today, this is where Emily's case stands. As I said, it remains open, unsolved, Unsolved, and her killer has not been found yet. But she is not forgotten and she's not given up on. Her name continues to be spoken at rallies, vigils, on murals, and all across social media. Emily has become a symbol of the crisis impacting Indigenous communities, and her loved ones refuse to just let her name fade away. Until there is justice, they'll keep showing up and fighting for answers, fighting for this beautiful little girl. I hope that answers are given to them soon, and I hope that the rest of Emily's remains are found and that she may fully rest in peace. By sharing her story, we not only honor her life, but also shine a light on the systematic issues that continue to fail Indigenous communities. Talking about Emily is important because the more we say her name, the harder it is for this case and others like it to be ignored. As I mentioned, I will leave some resources down below that I hope you can check out to support, learn from, and or share and use if you have any information that can lead to answers. Thank you guys so much for being here and for listening to Emily's story and just for keeping her name alive. I will keep you guys updated on any new information that comes out, and hopefully her family gets answers and justice soon. It's just scary to know that her killer is still out there, and it's really sad to think about what happened to Emily. She was so young, so full of life, and just trying to find her way in life, you know, and she just wanted to be back home with her family, and some horrible, evil person did this to her and just dismembered her and just left her there in trash bags. Like, it's horrifying to think about. So yeah, hopefully the next update I have for you guys is that they have found her killer and that this person is punished and put behind bars. I would love to know what you guys think about this down below, and if you guys haven't seen my last video, I give a huge update on the new information that has been released regarding the murders of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, the 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered in 2022. We go over statements from the surviving roommates, new evidence connected to BK, the victim impact statements given at his sentencing, and more. You can click on the upcoming screen to watch this video along with another past video. Also, if you guys just want a break from true crime, I do have a second channel where we discuss mysteries and thrillers, so if you guys want to check that out, I will have that link down below. In the last video, we just recapped the movie Drop, where a woman receives threatening airdrops while on a first date. The suspense of the movie and of the story is just insane. It has so many unexpected twists, so make sure to go watch that if you guys are looking for a break from true crime. Oh, also, I wanted to give you guys an update on the Familia newsletter, which I launched last year. It's been a little bit MIA because it's been under construction to make it even better and just more aligned with my mission for this community. I'm officially relaunching the newsletter under a different name, and it will now be a monthly resource for us to connect and for you guys to get true crime and personal content that I don't share anywhere else. I'm excited to share more soon, but in the meantime, I will have that link down below if you guys want to check it out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys again so much for being here. Please continue to share Emily's story, share her name, and just keep spreading awareness on what happened to her. We cannot let this case just fade away, and yeah, we just have to keep hoping and praying for justice. Stay safe, familia, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.